The San Siro Stadium in Milan, the scene of the start of the World Cup back on June the 8th. The base through to the quarter-finals for the winners, West Germany, and the home of three of that triumphant team, Matthäus, Bremer and Klinsmann, who want to follow that by leading Inter to the Italian First Division Championship this season. Inter against Bologna here today. It's a star-studded Inter side with Walter Zenga in goal. Giuseppe Bergomi, Italy's captain. Andy Bremer, as usual, at number 3. More Italian internationals, Nicola Berti and Riccardo Ferri. Sergio Battistini signed from Fiorentina. Alessandro Bianchi. Fausto Pizzi, a newcomer from Parma. Then Jürgen Klinsmann, Lothar Matthäus and Aldo Serena. But for Ferri, who's back from suspension, it's the side which crushed Cagliari last week 3-0 with a Klinsmann hat-trick. Bologna lost at home to Pisa, a dismal start to their league season. Today they have Cousin in goal, Renato Villa and Antonio Cabrini, 73 international appearances for Italy in the past. Verga, signed from Milan. Iliev, the Bulgarian defender. Tricella is the new sweeper from Juventus. Mariani at 7. Bonini, a vastly experienced midfield player. Vas, the West German striker. Detari, the brilliant Hungarian. And Poli, back from a serious injury. Well, I'm joined in the commentary box by Ray Wilkins, the former England international, who played here for Milan. So Inter kick off, attacking the goal to the right. Shirts famous the whole world over of blue and black stripes. And players in this lineup famous the whole world over too, not just the West Germans, but men like Zenga, of course, in goal. Riccardo Ferri, a key man in Italy's defence. Bergomi, the captain of Italy as well. And Jürgen Klinsmann, very anxious to get into the match straight away. A player whose stock rose so rapidly during the World Cup with his wonderful running off the ball, his goal-scoring ability. But possibly one black mark against him was the theatrical manner of his diving that's got players into trouble. He's showing here that he can take throw-ins as well. And a free kick earned by one of the Inter newcomers, Fausto Pizzi, wearing number 8. And a chance with just a minute gone for Lothar Matthäus to give a problem to Nello Cousin in the Bologna goal. Matthäus not getting it very far. And of course, Ray, if this is going to be a problem with the pitch for Inter, it'll be a problem for Milan as well, your old club.
Yes, that's right. And Milan do have players of tremendous passing ability, and when the ball's bouncing all over the show, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to play. But it's very interesting, this game already. It's obvious that Inter are going at Bologna and going to make it a very unhappy afternoon for them, if they possibly can. And to score an early goal would be a bonus, because the longer the game goes on, you probably see Bologna sitting back, hoping for their first point of the season.
Giovanni Trapattoni, the Inter coach, has made his feelings very public about this game. He feels that Bologna will come here to pack their side defensively and just play on the break when they can. And they've got some imported attacking talent in Herbert Vas, the striker from West Germany, and Detari, a midfielder from Hungary, who wasn't released to come and play against England at Wembley just last Wednesday. Matthäus. Klinsmann unable to get there. Here's Detari. The Bologna supporters a little disappointed through the close season that the policy of the club was more about selling players than buying them, which has put some pressure on their new coach, Franco Scoglio. Here's Bianchi. Battistini wearing number 6, an old teammate of Ray Wilkins.
Yes, that's right. I used to play with Sergio at Milan before he moved on to play, I think, as a fullback for Fiorentina. Now he appears to be playing sweeper for Inter. It's very interesting to note, Martin, that the pitch is actually cutting up already. Every sort of slight missed kick and you're taking a divot out of the turf.
Matthäus, and look at Bologna retreating already. Part of the problem underfoot caused by the roofing that's been put on this stadium and the structural improvements, which have been wonderful for the spectators. It's not worked out so well for those who have to play on the pitch. Referee Fabio Baldas from Trieste. The player who was fouled, Mariani, is one of the players brought in by Bologna this season, but they've let go Giovanni, who, to be fair, didn't really do himself justice, the Brazilian international. A very experienced striker, Bruno Giordano, who's done so well wherever he's played in Italy, and Marinaro, who is his ally in attack. Ficella, signed from Juventus, doing the gesticulating. He'll be the free man at the back. And how much freedom he'll get if Inter dominate this game, as we possibly expect them to do, remains to be seen. Cousin, the goalkeeper, in his 4th season with Bologna. And so far, with 5 minutes gone, very little action in the Inter half. Nicola Berti earning the free kick and taking it quickly. Here's Bianchi. And Berti stopped in his tracks by Verga. But the vigilance will be required, I'm sure, by Inter defensively, because De Tari can pass the ball superbly. He can shoot from long range. He's capable of making the most of possibly limited possession. Here he is again, hoping, I think, to get a free kick for obstruction, but it wasn't forthcoming. And Matthäus, who really is the epitome of the modern midfield player, finding Pizzi, taken on by Bianchi. And the strength of Aldo Serena in the air, shining through then. It wasn't an easy header to win, and to get it on target like that, it was a splendid effort.
Yes, I think you're right, Martin. That's a tremendous header, the way he gets across the defender. And the goalkeeper, in actual fact, pulls off a very, very good save. But a super header.
Serena, who did appear, of course, in the World Cup, and got on the score sheet for Italy against Uruguay. And maybe he'll be in the thinking of Matthäus here as the corner is hung up. But it was Battistini, who is also an effective player in the air, who came in. This is Nicola Berti. Yet another international. Everywhere you look with Inter, players of pedigree, a club of great style and of great capability. Matthäus out-jumped by Verga, but he's lost out in that midfield battle. Berti played it on to Pizzi, and Klinsmann is in here. It's a shot taken first time, as the goalkeeper was worried about the gap at the near post. And Klinsmann was aware of that, I think.
That's a wonderful pass, Martin, from Pizzi. I think Klinsmann took this a bit early. He may have taken another touch there and perhaps set up a teammate.
Out by Vass, and Bologna at that time caught out by the quality of the pass from Fausto Pizzi. And here is Mariani, Ray Wilkins was speaking about a moment or two ago, who you will find listed as a forward, but is basically doing a very unselfish job for his team up and down the right-hand side.
It's getting back to what I was saying earlier about the discipline, Martin. Italian football is a very, very disciplined object, and he'll be working very hard to get this first point that they so desperately need, because they lost in the week and they lost last Saturday, so last Sunday, sorry. So they'll be thinking they've got a bit of a crisis on if they lose today. It's unheard of to lose 3 on the trot.
There's some more discontent in Bologna because the prices have been put up high this season, as high really as anywhere in Italy. Pizzi. Now Bianchi is seeing a lot of the ball, and they're not cutting off the supply from this particular quarter. And that was Matthäus.
Well, that was a great opportunity, that, Martin. That's a good ball in, and Matthäus is just off target with the header. He'll be a little bit disappointed he didn't actually get that on the target, I would have thought. But we can see here down at ground level the pitch is in pretty atrocious condition.
And a long season ahead in a stadium that is shared between two clubs who deserve better. Bremer, whose father was a professional player and is now a coach. Matthäus took that on the burst, really ran into a pack of defenders. Klinsmann did well to keep Inter in possession. In the end, it's one of the more obvious free kicks conceded by Vass for obstructing Alessandro Bianchi.
I think that's a typical instance of a forward going back and helping out the defence, Martin. They don't seem to defend that well forwards when they come back, and in many instances they can be a bit of a hindrance more than a help. As we see here, they're in another good position. Inter.
Matthäus. Now they look at the referee. It was Battistini, most capable at attacking the ball at the far post. Felt he was blocked off. It's a clever thing done in the professional game, and it's very hard for referees to spot what is really a foul.
It's a crazy situation, really, Martin, because Battistini's so good in the air. If he would have perhaps gone for the ball instead of trying to feign the penalty, he may well have headed the ball in the goal. But it's a thing that the Italians do have. They love to have a little dive about every now and then. I'm sure that's not the last instance we're going to see in the game.
It's the Latin temperament, but actually the West Germans are pretty good at it as well. Whether Matthäus and Klinsmann have improved in that respect since they've come to Inter, I'll leave you to judge, but I would think so. Here is Bremer. Matthäus. Again, Bologna hold their positions. They'll fancy that the defender would always be favourite to deal with a ball played in at that angle, although Serena will in particular compete for those if they're anyway within range. So only 3 saves for Cousin with 32 minutes gone in the first half on the second Sunday of the 1990-91 Italian First Division season. That's Franco Scoglio, who brought Genoa back into the First Division a season or so ago. And Bianchi getting away here. Looking for Klinsmann, and now Serena!
That's Bianchi there, Martin, getting in his first cross, I think, this afternoon, and what a good cross it was. And the two forward players working very well together there. I think again Serena would be disappointed that he's actually hit that straight at the goalkeeper. He had a pretty clear view of it, and it was a free header as well.
Inter keeping the pressure on. Bremer, and no one at the far post this time. But Cabrini just hounded enough by Bianchi. And Inter have their 6th corner, and a variation on the theme this time. Matthäus, Now it's Brema driving it back, and sometimes you can have too many defenders around. A little ricochet and a bounce, and someone's unsighted, and a chance comes from a scramble. Agostini letting Zenga get involved. He hasn't had anything to do, really, Italy's #1 goalkeeper. Fouled by Verga, who's a player, Ray, that you have known in the past. I think he might be in trouble here for really his first foul in the game.
Yeah, that's right. He's been involved in the game quite a bit from Bologna's point of view. And I was with him at Milan. He was a very nice chap, and I think he made his debut for Milan when he was 17. I think Milan had a lot of high hopes for him. Whether he's actually been transferred to Bologna, I don't know. He might be on another loan, which is quite common in Italian football.
Cabrini. There is Verga. Cabrini not wasting the ball when Bologna do have an opportunity to build from the back. And Deitari a favourite for his passes. Here's Vas. And they've drawn Bologna out slightly. And Riccardo Ferri, who hasn't had much defending to do. And Klinsmann will look down at the pitch and blame that, but it was, in the end, his mistake. 10 minutes to go to half-time. Inter, who had such an encouraging start to the season in their opening league game, looking to break down Bologna, but trying to be vigilant at the back on the rare occasion that they're threatened. Bologna didn't average a goal a game in the league last season, and yet finished 8th. Very strong defensively. But Deitari is a new addition since then, of course, and it was deflected, and Zenga had to make sure that he got his left-hand post covered.
He got in a terrific shot there, Martin. He was very, very quick to turn Deitari, and he's obviously a very talented and gifted player. And that was a fair shot. Had it not been deflected, it might have carried a bit of pace, that shot.
Malte Zenga, who doubles his playing career with a career in television, was glad to show his fans that he's come back to the new season still as agile as ever. Brema, blocked by Villa. Another uncompromising player, and Bologna will want to keep things tight here as Brema has the opportunity to plant a corner where Inter would like it. That's Bergami, and it was Nicola Berti as the ball came on to the back post, and Deitari leading the inquest there.
That's right, that was a great corner, a great flick on, and the ball just stands up and spins away from him slightly, but it would be very disappointing he didn't connect properly with that and perhaps put into 1-up, but it was a superb corner. It was a corner that I think Bologna were very angry with the way they were all attracted to the near post, and it was an amazing amount of space, although, as you say, Ray, a very difficult stretch for Berti to try and make real contact with it. Deitari. Klinsmann, he's off now, and can they catch him? It's Villa who's just forced him wide. He certainly didn't look as though he had the sprinting power, but Renato Villa knew the only way really to curb Klinsmann then was to push him slightly away from the goal, and in the end that's just produced yet another corner for Inter. We've had a procession of those, and Cousin flaps at it and rode his luck. And that's Deitari for you. He doesn't want to just kick it upfield, he wanted to pass it forward. It's been a frustrating first 45 minutes for a team that came here with 3 goals under their belt from their opening game, and great comment too about the potential for their season. But the pitch here has conspired, along with some brave defending by Bologna, to stop Inter scoring and getting any reward for their domination of the first half.
A couple of useful efforts from Cesena and from Klinsmann. The potential for goals certainly there, but the efforts that Inter have put in, not so far giving them a real hold on this match, which they deserve to have. This was Villa doing well again for Bologna. But we'll take a short break and be back here in the San Siro Stadium for the second half. So the second half will be a test not just of the Inter skill, but of their patience as well. I must say they haven't come out for the second half actually bursting for the off, a fairly leisurely approach, but I'm sure that will change once Fabio Baldas blows the whistle for battle to recommence. It's Bologna then attacking the goal to the right in a change strip for them, all white. Last season they started going 8 games unbeaten from the off, so this is quite a different feeling for them, and 45 minutes of tough defending ahead, I'm sure, for them, and just hoping that they learnt enough from the first half to feel that they might pinch a goal, which might mean a second point, which would really lift the mood in Bologna. But I must say, Ray, that the Inter support isn't perhaps quite as vociferous in these circumstances as you might expect.
No, I think they're looking for a little bit of inspiration. You tend to find that with Italian crowds, that if your side is struggling, they tend to be a little bit quiet and they need someone to turn something on. It's a bit like what Trevor was saying, like a Maradona can turn something on, not only get the team going, but get the crowd going as well. And unfortunately, at this moment in time, Inter are lacking that little bit of inspiration. But hopefully they'll pick it up. I'm sure we'll start seeing a lot of players getting further forward, such as Berti on the ball there.
Klinsmann, I don't think, saw that as a return pass. It certainly wasn't the best placed to give him a chance to bear down on goal. This blonde midfield of Bologna, of Bonini, De Tari and Verga, providing a second line of defence in front of the pure defenders, in front of goalkeeper Nello Cusin. And he's quite happy to use up what time the referee will allow him. It won't be too much if past Italian referees are anything to go by. They're well aware of that sort of deception. Pizzi. Bremer. It bounced off Nicola Berti, but he was in space to readjust. Pizzi, Klinsmann, Cesena. He wasn't quite attacking it with the gusto you might have seen if the ball was coming on his left foot, where he might have just had a swing, although he was probably out of range. The cover was there in the nick of time for Bologna. Bremer's cross.
That was a super move just a couple of seconds ago there, Martin. What they've actually done is they've picked the pace up slightly. They're passing the ball a lot quicker and faster. And it's causing Bologna a few problems. That was a lovely interchange of passing around the penalty area there.
So the pace might mean the penetration that Inter are looking for. Berti laying it off. Here comes Pizzi. Now Matteus. Battistini joining the pack in the middle. Bianchi's cross. Cesena got to it, and it was a showy save by Cusin.
My word, that was a showy save as well, Martin. I think it was going a mile wide as well.
Playing to the gallery, and I think Inter, though, will be pleased with the early ball in from Bianchi. It gave Cesena a fighting chance. Pizzi. On from Berti, but it's across the pitch. Bianchi with another early cross, not a good one. Matteus with a shot! And that was more reminiscent of the World Cup. He put one in that very corner here against Yugoslavia from a similar distance. And it was mighty close.
Yeah, they'll have to close him down from there, Martin. He's got a tremendous shot, especially on his right side. And that really was a good effort. Had it been on the goal, I think it would have beaten the goalkeeper.
Poli to Bonini. Oh, and Tricella made to scurry, and he's made a mistake. Mateus seized on it, and in the end, Villa couldn't repair the damage, but Cousin did. And Villa angry with his sweeper. Inter given a little boost by that. There haven't been many individual errors. Berti crosses. Bonini again in the right place, brought out by De Tari. Trying to look to the left and reverse it through the middle and catch Inter off their guard, and it didn't quite pay off as Poli chased it. Lovely turn by Klinsmann, leaving Mariani. And he timed the pass beautifully. Berti. They've got to go round the outside, and Berti might just have been shoved then to knock him off guard as he went to play the pass. There. But Bologna sticking to their task. We're coming up to an hour played, and they've got too many cooks spoiling the broth though here, and they were lucky to survive that one.
That was a communication problem there. You had Iliev and the fullback both getting under the same ball, and it only needed a shout from Iliev, who was a good couple of yards behind his fellow defender, to tell him to leave the ball. It's often happens in football where the communication is so vital. They don't pass information across, and you get yourselves in sticky situations.
And how aggravating that would have been to Bologna if it had cost them a goal after so much stout resistance. Inter still looking really for inspiration as a cross is driven in there with some venom by Mariani, trying to pick out Vass, who's pretty useful in the air. But Klinsmann, who got ahead of Herbert Vass in the jockeying for positions for West Germany. So the change is going to be the expected one. Paolo Stringara is warming up to replace Nicola Berti. This was a substitution that was made last week in Cagliari, and Stringara, who actually started his career here as an Inter junior way back in 1979, and it's taken him until 1990 to appear in their first team. He just had the one season as a junior before moving off around the league, most recently at Bologna. So there's plenty for him to try and show against the club he left in the close season. And if he can make the sort of impact that he did in Sardinia last Sunday, Inter will be well pleased. Well, the ball actually has gone behind for a goal kick. So the change made with half an hour left. Berti was going through a spell where whatever he tried wasn't quite coming off.
That's a very sad situation for a player. Berti, he's a 100%er, and when things continually keep going wrong, it's a bit of a blow. And obviously he's had the biggest blow you can possibly have. He's been taken off the field, which is unfortunate for him.
And Ray, you do get the impression that in Italy players are more individuals and their pride is perhaps a little bit more to the fore. Is that
They're
fair?
very proud people, the Italian footballers, you're right, and he'll be very upset that he's been taken off.
De Tari, who's a proud Hungarian, at times a controversial one. Well, that was a rather unwise challenge by Bianchi. And Detari very interested at getting involved at the free kick.
When you've got a chap who can pass the ball as well as this chap, this is a very dangerous position for Inter. It only needs a good ball in, and they could find themselves one down here.
And looking at that replay again, Bergami was not at all worried about where the opposition were going. Poli, the player who was brought down by an over-eager Bianchi. Detari, I wonder whether he might see a little gap by the near post. He gets it into the centre, and Inter scramble it away somehow. And the crowd showing their relief and feeling that for all the effort that Inter have put in, they're still vulnerable to this occasional Bologna breakaway.
That really was a tremendous ball in, though. He's hit that with a lot of pace. It's a bit like the one we're seeing Gaza use a hell of a lot at the moment in the England side. The one that swings into the goal. And it's a very difficult ball for goalkeepers and defenders, because it only needs to touch off a defender as well, and it can end up in the back of the net. But they must be aware of that, Inter, because this chap can pass the ball.
Yes, it's unusual how this has become a ploy that's worked so well, because if a player was there in free play, you'd never say shoot from that position. It's just someone coming across the line of the opponents before the ball gets to the near post area, before the goalkeeper can really move out to make a save, and a change of direction, if at times minimal.
Oh, it only needs a nudge, and it's in the back of the net, and that would have been, from Inter's point of view, a crime. They've controlled the whole game, and to lose off a set piece, they would have been very disappointed, or to go a goal down off a set piece.
That's a useful ball by Stringara to Pizzi. Serena! Well saved that time. We've pointed the finger at the goalkeeper for some flamboyant antics, but that needed saving.
Yeah, that was a super save. He's hitting a good ball there with a lot of pace on it, and Serena's got his head to it, and he's saved well to his right-hand side. Mateus.
It's all toil and tussle at the moment from Inter. And Mateus definitely encapsulating both those commodities, but it's Pizzi with some subtler touches, who perhaps has the wherewithal to unlock Bologna. Klinsmann driving on towards the byline, but all he has at the end is a corner. And the hope that Bremer can earn into a goal that they would feel they would deserve from the corner. Serena! Well, that certainly is his party piece, and wherever he's played, he's hurt defenders in the air and come in like that. Even where you need all your bravery, he gets up there, and that seems to be a profitable route. Vass. Tricella, that was another little kick at the ground as well as the ball.
Yeah, it's been a very difficult afternoon. The ball has been moving about all over the place, and I think every player on the park has had difficulty at one stage or another in kicking the ball.
Which really, again, testifies to the wisdom of Inter clipping it up for Serena to try and head it whenever they possibly can. It's away from him this time. And that's Klinsmann. It was Battistini who forced his way through. Klinsmann dives. No penalty. But the ball is still in play, and Stringara has another swipe at it. And Battistini actually initially made the breakthrough then with a very purposeful run.
It actually looked
took it on.
It actually looks a penalty, that one. As Klinsmann turns, he seems to tow it past him, and he's brought down. Normally they're given, especially with the home side as well. That's a very strange decision.
Possibly Klinsmann's reputation counting against him. I mean, his reputation as a theatrical performer rather than as a very talented footballer, which he undoubtedly is. Well, we can see it now.
Well, I would have been inclined to have given a penalty there. He did look as if he was pulled down, and they'll be feeling quite aggrieved at that, Inter.
I would agree with you, Ray. But it's still 0-0, and we're into the last 15 minutes. And Inter, who've thrown most things into the Bologna penalty area, will want to try and come up with some fresh ammunition from somewhere. Whether the one fresh player that they're allowed to introduce, or a change in style, a gamble in pushing an extra player forward from a defensive station. Serena can't get there this time. Battistini. Stringara. Just prodding it across the goal, and Klinsmann on another day, that could have flown in. He's certainly capable of doing that. But Mateus admitting the foul straight away, and again the picture really telling the story of the difficulties for both teams here. And when so much money is invested into the Italian game, it is nothing less than a disgrace to be asked to put on a show on a pitch such as this. But here's Bonini trying to make light of those difficulties. He's not a natural goal scorer. He is a marvellous worker in midfield, and he never really approached that with the air of a man who expected to have a shot. The referee slowing the progress and being roundly booed for his intervention. Serena. Pizzi. This is Bianchi, who's also not a goal scorer. Klinsmann. And the second time, if he goes down now, Bergami is there as well. Bianchi. Well, you can't criticise Inter for lack of effort. But there has been a lack of opportunity, perhaps caused by the predictability of some of their play. Bergami. Serena this time. Well, he's entitled to ask the referee for a decision there as well.
I think we've got a 6 of one and half a dozen of the other there. I think they were both having a pull at each other, but that was a better quality ball in. He's actually missed the goalkeeper out. The goalkeeper doesn't know where he's going. And both players are having a bit of a shove. It's a bit unfair to get a penalty there.
In fact, Mariani got to the ball, which was clearly his target, rather than just balking Serena.
They've stuck to their task very well this afternoon, Bologna. It's been a difficult game for them, but they've really stuck to it, and they've worked very hard as a team.
Well, this is a player well known to the Inter supporters. Pierluigi Di Gia played for Inter last season. He's only 22. He was used as a substitute mainly, and has moved to Bologna at the same time that Stringara has come in the opposite direction. Bologna getting closer and closer to their main objective. What would be their first point of the season. Mateus. Well, there's a better response from the crowd now. Stringara. Well picked off by Tricella. Cabrini not panicking. Bonini there to help him, and De Tari. It's put together with some quality by Bologna, this attack. And it's Di Gia making a run through the middle. Vass is up there as well. De Tari would love to shoot and does. Mateus for Bologna now, who must be starting to ache with weariness. They've got 10 minutes left to keep their discipline. Bremer. Another goal to tell you about, and it's come in Turin. Juventus, who were leading 1-0 at half-time, that Baggio penalty. Atalanta have equalised. It's not turning out to be a good day for the glamour clubs. And we're facing the possibility of Pisa, newly promoted, being top after the first two games. They seem certain to win against Lecce, but Inter with Bianchi to Bergami. It's almost as if the players are beginning to get bored themselves with slinging in the crosses. But now Matteus! Well, the game was there for the taking. And it was the midfield man who wasn't picked up.
He did ever so well there, Matteus. Although he struck the crossbar, his first touch was superb, and it put him in on goal. And he's a little bit unfortunate that he's not put into one up there. In actual fact, Matteus has been the one guy that's trying to give Inter a bit of inspiration. He's working very hard, trying to shut people down. And we find him in the box then. If he gets in the box more, then I'm sure Inter can possibly pull this one out of the fire.
Deitari. Pursued by Stringara, dispossessed by him. Bremer. It's all set up for something dramatic to happen right at the last, and Klinsmann, has he pointed for a foul? He hasn't. There was a roar around the stadium because the referee dangled out his left arm then in the direction of the penalty spot.
Yeah, I don't think Bonini's at all happy with Klinsmann. I think he's gone over and had a few words about his antics, his diving.
But here's Deitari. Oh, it's hit the post.
My word, he beat Zenga all hands up there. Just the sheer pace of the shot. Zenga wouldn't have got there had it been on goal.
It was the shortest route to the back of the net. They talk about goalkeepers hating to be beaten at the near post, but when they're powered at goal from that type of range, there's quick reflexes called upon, and Zenga moved sharply enough but didn't deal with it. It bounced back off the post, and while Bonini, as Ray Wilkins was saying, was complaining about Klinsmann, Bologna were very nearly winning the match. And it was actually a tackle with the feet on Klinsmann by the goalkeeper that ended that surge at the other end. And then the referee misled a lot of people for a moment. Well, the Hungarian embroidering his midfield play with a forward run that very nearly fashioned victory for Bologna. They might still lose the game, of course. Two minutes left. Bianchi, not so strong on his left foot, and Tricella and Cabrini between them, putting up a barrier that he couldn't get the ball past. It's getting better and better for Pisa supporters. They're 4 up against Lecce now. And what an unusual day it's turning out to be if Inter fail to win, if Napoli lose, if Milan fail to win in Cesena, and Roma get thumped in Genoa. Mariani. No, Ray, I think we came here to praise Inter, really, but the bravery of Bologna has shone through.
It has. They've definitely put up a fine performance defensively, and they've caused Inter a few shocks as well when they've gone forward.
But Bremer's in behind them now, and Serena launched himself. This is Bianchi. Oh yes, he's done it.
Well, I think that was the only way they were going to score with a wonder goal like that. They tried everything else, and he's hit a fantastic volley there, Bianchi. Fantastic volley.
Zenga can't believe it, and supporters, many of whom were making for the exits. With a minute to go, yet again the ball headed out by Iliev, and Bianchi, not renowned for his goal-scoring power, really connected. Struck it perfectly, it dipped, no chance for Cesena, absolutely no chance at all.
Oh, that's a terrific goal. It's a shame that couldn't have happened halfway through the half. We may well have seen a more entertaining game, but I think it was well worth waiting for. A super shot.
Well, while the cameras look at Bianchi, I was looking at De Tari, who had his head in his hands and has learnt a lesson, I think, in his first season in the Italian game, that it can be very cruel, particularly when you're away from home against a talented side. 90 minutes is a long time to defend.
Well, they came here to Milan to defend, and unfortunately it is that last minute, but it's a super goal that actually beats them.
Cesena is down on his knees. The final whistle has gone, and Inter, who would have trudged off but for Bianchi, can walk off with their heads held high. They've won it, they were expected to win it, and in a way they've had to win it the Italian way, by being patient, by being persistent. And Aldo Serena came close so often and was, like so many Inter players, I'm sure, beginning to think that it wasn't going to be their day. And poor Nello Cesena. He didn't, in truth, have a particularly busy game, so well did they defend in front of him. There were some real heroes like Iliev and Bonini and Tricella and De Tari, of course, for Bologna, who gave us much of the class that was on view. It was not a game in which Matthäus and Klinsmann and Bremer could really shine, and it was one of the unheralded players, Alessandro Bianchi, who'd spent most of the game wide on the right, who found himself lurking on the edge of the penalty area and put away the goal that sent Scoglio back down the tunnel. The Bologna coach, a bitterly disappointed man. But Inter, well, they'll go home happy. They've got their win. They've played 2, won 2, and that's looking good for their season. Roma earned top billing in our roundup with their 4-0 thrashing of Fiorentina last week. Rudi Voller's early chance suggested a similar story here, but Genoa had other ideas. Eranio's clever cross, Onorati perfectly placed to meet it, 1-0 to Genoa after 11 minutes. Naylor, a long-range specialist, couldn't quite supply an equaliser, and 2 minutes before half-time, it was 2-0 to Genoa. Carlos Aguilera to Eranio this time, and Aguilera there in the centre to score a classic goal for Genoa. Right at the start of the second half, a disallowed Roma goal from Aldair, the Brazilian defender. And straight away, salt was rubbed into the wounds, Naylor impeding Paccione, a penalty, and it was converted by Aguilera for his second goal. The 4-0 winners last week, 3-0 down now, and it could have been 4 against them. Caricola coming close. Andrea Carnevali's header against the bar just about summed up a rough day for Roma. Fiorentina, who were pummeled by Roma last week, had plenty to prove against Sampdoria. Lubos Kubik, their Czechoslovakian midfield player, desperately unlucky with his long-distance left-footed shooting. Another Kubik effort so nearly giving the lead to Fiorentina, who of course have lost their golden boy Baggio to Juventus. Sampdoria won their opening game, and Beppe Dossena with a confident run here. Bonetti linking up well with him, but it was still goalless at half-time. Frustration for Fiorentina in the second half, denied a goal by the narrowest of margins again, Del Olio the unlucky player this time. There had been some doubt as to whether Fiorentina would retain Kubik for this season, and he played with the gusto of a man with a point to prove. He deserved to be on a winning side, but it wasn't to be. 0-0 in Florence. Juventus, much changed, should be well worth watching one way or the other. Pierluigi Casiraghi at the sharp end of this early attack against Atalanta. Roberto Baggio giving every sign that he's settled in well in Turin. Anxious times these for Atalanta, confirmed by Catelli's shove on Fortunato. A penalty, and up stepped Baggio.
2 games, 2 successful penalties from him, 1-0 after 26 minutes. But that lead survived here only because of an acrobatic piece of defending by Napoli, a header over his own bar. 12 minutes from time now, and handball by De Marchi, another Juventus newcomer. So a penalty now to Atalanta, and the reaction in the crowd so hostile that the police were required. Evair, like Baggio, slotted in his second penalty of the season. 1-1, and both sides had chances to win the game. Baggio's header, he could have had a hat-trick. Then Atalanta counter-attacking menacingly, but Tacconi not unduly troubled by Evair. Juventus won, Atalanta won. Next, the most one-sided fixture of the day on paper. Napoli against Cagliari, who'd lost 3-0 at home to Inter on their return to the First Division. Cagliari, despite some early enterprise, looked meat and drink for the champions, even though Maradona was missing with a back injury. But then Alamao kicked out in retaliation and just had to be sent off. Napoli down to 10 men. The anger didn't stop there. Cripper could have followed him for this cynical foul, which only produced a yellow card. So Cagliari presented with a golden opportunity to take a grip on the match. And a goal from Rocco after 34 minutes put them on their way to a sensational victory. But right on half-time, down went Silenzi, looking for a penalty, and he got it. Converted in Maradona's absence by Careca. 1-1, and with 10 men, Napoli very nearly took the lead. Mauro's cross met by Silenzi. Cagliari, though, had better luck when Fonseca, their Uruguayan striker, lobbed his shot over Galli. 2-1 to Cagliari, 20 minutes left, and no way back for Napoli this time. In fact, they could have been beaten even more conclusively. In their championship season, they hadn't lost a single home game. This, their first league defeat in the San Paolo Stadium for 17 months. Alamao's early exit so significant, but Cagliari cashed in for a sensational win. Bari were beaten in Bergamo last week by Atalanta and were soon in trouble at home to Torino. A weak punch by goalkeeper Drago, a sure shot by the Brazilian Muller. Bari then lost Maialaro, a key player, and Torino tore them apart at this stage. Lentini heading over from a cross by Martin Vasquez, who also inspired this move, which should have set up a second for Muller. Bari have a new imported striker, the Romanian Radu Cioiu. His enterprise here helped lift Bari's sagging spirits, and Radu Cioiu changed the picture significantly with his first Italian league goal. That was 7 minutes before half-time. 1-1, Policano's tremendous shot almost regained the lead for Torino. It looked as though it would stay that way until a senseless handball by Carrillo in the last minute presented Bari with a penalty. And thanks to Gianpaolo's nerve from the penalty spot, that secured their first win of the season. Milan, narrow winners against Genoa in their first game, are away to Cesena. And though Pazzagli, Milan's goalkeeper, made the first save, the action mostly at the other end, Ruud Gullit testing Cesena's new goalkeeper, Fontana, as did Roberto Donadoni. Cesena had chances too, this a good one for Pierre Leone. And they followed that with a sharp shot from Ciocci. Milan not at their most magnificent, but Gullit and Van Basten showing signs of combining. And both Dutchmen hit the bar in this amazing scramble. Fontana had a fine match and certainly kept Cesena in the hunt. Gullit was still hunting the crucial first goal. Paolo Maldini joined in as well. But time was ticking away. The final seconds now, and the Dutchman did the trick. Van Basten following up on Hullit's free kick. Fontana's fumble ruining all his good work up to that point. Cesena 0, Milan 1. After a goalless draw away to Torino, Lazio were hoping to open their account against promoted Parma. And a golden opportunity here. Karl-Heinz Riedler fouled by Apolloni, but Ruben Sosa with a reminder of the World Cup when he also missed a penalty for Uruguay. Riedler, part of West Germany's World Cup winning squad, he did his best to spare Sosa's blushes, helped here by some poor defending. But another goalless draw for Lazio, though Fiori had to produce an athletic save from Parma's Catanese. A final sight of goal for Ruben Sosa, but Lazio need him to be much sharper if they're going to cure a long-standing weakness in front of goal. Pisa, winning at Bologna, produced one of the shocks of the opening day. Lecce held Napoli at home, which was also a useful result. Lecce's best chance fell to Alenikov, but he couldn't take it. Piovanelli had struck the winner at Bologna, and he followed it with this superb goal after half an hour. Pisa in front 1-0. It wasn't a good day for one Argentinian, Lecce's Pasculi. He scooped this opportunity over the bar, but it was much better for his fellow countryman, Simeone, in only his second game for Pisa. That miss didn't disturb him. 5 minutes after half-time, Simeone virtually settled the match with a brilliant goal. Lecce had defender Amodio sent off, coach Zibi Boniek also dismissed from the bench, while Pisa ploughed on, Padovano running through for a third. 3 minutes from time, Padovano in the clear again to present Piovanelli with his second, and that was the goal which took Pisa on goal difference to the top of the table. So the second round of matches dominated by two of the promoted clubs, Cagliari creating a huge upset with the 2 goals which toppled the champions in their own San Paolo stadium. Such a shock for Napoli. And what about Pisa? Only 2 matches gone, I know, but it's their day of glory on top of the Italian First Division.